Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to take big, complex ideas, find the most surprising bits, and bring them straight to you. Today, we're really diving deep, exploring something fundamental, human morality. But we're looking at it through a completely new lens, artificial intelligence. You've brought us this incredible AI-driven study. AI explains the science of human morality. And it pulls from everything: philosophy, biology, psychology, sociology, even physics and math.
It really does. It's ambitious. Our goal today is basically to unpack what AI can tell us about the inner compass we all have, the one guiding right and wrong. In this report, it really showcases AI's power, recognizing patterns we miss, detecting bias, even predicting moral behavior, which is incredibly complex. But, and this is important, it also throws up some big questions about AI's own ethics, when it starts analyzing human nature itself.
So what's the takeaway for you listening? Well, think of it as a shortcut, getting right to the heart of human nature, maybe finding some surprising facts, some practical ideas that could even shift how you see things. Okay, let's get into it. To really understand how AI even starts thinking about morality, we need a handle on what morality is for us humans. The report calls it an intrinsic compass, tied to our self-perception.
Exactly. Our sense of being a worthy person. And fundamentally, the report suggests our capacity for ethical behavior hinges on three biological things. One, being able to anticipate consequences. Two, making value judgments, saying this is good, that's bad. And three, having the freedom to choose between options. What's really fascinating, though, is the idea that morality maybe wasn't a direct adaptation like thumbs. It's more like an emergent product.
Emergent, meaning?
Meaning it kind of arose from other things that we're selected for, like our big brains, abstract thought, planning ahead. Those helped us survive, and they also, sort of accidentally, provided the architecture for moral thinking.
Huh. So the tools for survival inadvertently gave us ethics. That's profound. And crucial for AI, right? It has to tell the difference between the thinking machinery and the actual moral rules cultures develop.
Precisely. The hardware versus the software, you could almost say. The potential versus the specific content shaped by society.
Okay, so if culture shapes it, how have we thought about shaping it? The report jumps right into those big philosophical ideas: consequentialism, deontology, virtue ethics. Can you break those down a bit?
Sure. So consequentialism, utilitarianism is the famous one. It's all about the outcome. Did the action maximize overall happiness or good? That's the measure.
Right, the ends justify the means, essentially.
In a way, yeah. Then you have deontology. Think Kant, duties, obligations. Some actions are just right or wrong in themselves, period. Regardless of the consequences. Lying is wrong, even if it achieves a good outcome.
Got it. Based on rules or principles.
Exactly. And virtue ethics. It shifts the lens. Not about the act or the rule, but the person. Are you cultivating good character traits? Honesty, compassion, courage. The goal is eudaimonia.
Eudaimonia?
Yeah.
That's like deep human flourishing.
That's it. Living a truly good, fulfilled life through virtuous character.
Okay, clear distinctions. But that leads straight to the classic debate. Is morality relative, just cultural preference, or are there absolute rights and wrongs? Moral relativism versus absolutism.
The big one, yeah. Relativism says standards are culturally bound, no universal truth, which, raises issues. Does that mean we can't condemn things like slavery if a culture accepted it?
A serious problem for relativism.
Definitely. Absolutism, on the other side, says, nope, some things are just wrong everywhere, always.
But here's what I found really interesting in the report. It says we humans rarely stick to just one of these. We kind of mix and match.
That's exactly right. We have these fast, intuitive, emotional gut reactions, often very deontological, like that's just plain wrong. And then we also have slower, deliberate reasoning, where we weigh the consequences, more utilitarian. There's this constant tension.
So AI can't just label actions. It needs to model that internal conflict, that dynamic pull between different ways of reasoning.
Precisely. And this is important for you listening. The report does find about 7 universal moral rules across 60 cultures. Things like helping family, returning favors, dividing resources fairly. Basic stuff. But these are really broad principles, like building blocks. AI has to be smart enough to see these underlying universals without confusing them with the huge variety of specific cultural norms built on top. It needs to avoid being ethnocentric.
Okay, so it's not just philosophy. It's baked into our biology, our evolution. The report mentions precursors in chimps, bonobos, empathy, reciprocity. Sounds very human.
It does, doesn't it? These cooperative behaviors obviously help groups survive. Think wolves hiding together, or vampire bats sharing blood meals.
Vampire bats? Really?
Yeah, they share with bats that didn't successfully feed. It suggests that fostering cooperation was a really powerful survival strategy for early humans too, laying the groundwork for right and wrong ways to interact.
And genetics plays a part. Even babies show signs of fairness and empathy.
They do, but it's not just genes. The report stresses this is a co-evolutionary process. It's a dance between our innate biological tendencies and the cultures we grow up in, nature and nurture interacting constantly.
Which means AI models need to account for both, right? And how they influence each other.
Absolutely. You can't understand one without the other.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating for me. The neuroscience. Our brains are literally wired for this stuff. Prefrontal cortex, amygdala, insula.
That's right. Specific brain regions get involved. The prefrontal cortex handles the reasoning, the sort of cost-benefit analysis. The amygdala lights up with emotions, fear, anger, but also that moral disgust. The insula seems really tied to empathy, feeling what others feel.
And emotions aren't just side effects, they're central.
Pivotal. Empathy, guilt, shame, they strongly drive moral decisions. High empathy often leads to more altruistic choices. Plus, we have to consider cognitive biases.
Like confirmation bias, seeing what we want to see.
Exactly. That massively shapes our moral judgments. Even neurotransmitters, things like dopamine and serotonin, play a role in our reward systems and mood, influencing the choices we make.
The report uses that three-brain analogy: reptilian instincts, limbic emotions, neocortex logic. It paints a picture of, well, internal negotiation.
It's a great model. Think about seeing someone in danger.
Right.
Reptilian brain, or maybe freeze or run. Limbic, empathy, urge to help. Neocortex, calculates risks, plans action. True moral decision-making, the report says, isn't just logic. It's getting these three systems working together, harmonizing them.
Which completely challenges those old models of humans as purely rational actors.
Totally. It means AI needs to understand the non-rational stuff too, the emotions, the gut feelings, the biases, to get a real picture of human morality. It can't just analyze words. It needs to look at the underlying emotional currents.
So if the hardware's there, how does the software develop? How do we learn morality? Kohlberg stages are pretty famous, right? Moving from self-interest to social rules to universal principles.
They are, yes. Pre-conventional. Avoid punishment, get rewards. Conventional. Follow social norms, laws. Post-conventional. Abstract principles, maybe even challenging the law for a higher ethic.
But the report brings in Albert Bandura and social learning theory as a sort of reality check.
Exactly. Bandura says, hang on, it's not just about internal stages. We learn by watching others, by seeing what gets reinforced. Observational learning. And crucially, people might be capable of higher moral reasoning, but social pressures or their environment might lead them to act at a lower level. It's not always a straight climb up Kohlberg's ladder.
The Bobo doll study comes to mind. Kids copy aggressive behavior they see.
The classic example. It shows powerfully that just telling kids the rules isn't enough. The environment, the role models they see, that's huge. And for you listening, it underlines just how much our surroundings shape us. Now zoom out even further. Sociology sees morality as a social construct. We build it together through interaction. Our actions are shaped by the situation. Sometimes self-interest wins, sometimes community spirit. We create the rules as we go, this tacit knowledge of how to behave.
And Durkheim, the sociologist, argued moral rules are social facts. They exist outside us, shaping us.
Right. For him, morality starts with belonging to a group. Society itself is the moral agent, defining what's acceptable to maintain order.
So AI needs to analyze group behavior, social structures, how norms get enforced, like through stigma or gossip.
Exactly. And look at law versus morality. Laws often reflect morals, sure. But conflict theory points out laws can also be tools used by powerful groups to keep their power.
Which raises a critical question for AI analysis. Who benefits when a moral norm is established? Who might be losing out? Can AI spot when norms are being manipulated by power dynamics?
That's a key capability we'd want. And then there's social contract theory. The idea we live by agreements, written or unwritten, that set the moral rules for living together peacefully.
Okay, this is where my mind really starts stretching. The report links morality to physics, mathematics, logic. How does that even work?
It sounds surprising, but think historically. Natural philosophy used to include physics and ethics. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, saw a rationally organized universe. They believed our human rationality came from that cosmic order, so living ethically meant living in harmony with it. For AI, this isn't about reducing morals to physics equations. It's about looking for underlying laws or consistent patterns in moral systems, how they stay stable, how they break down.
Finding the structure.
Like finding the physics of social systems. And then math. Game theory. Right, game theory models strategic choices. The prisoner's dilemma is the classic, Do you cooperate or betray the other person for your own gain? It explores the math of cooperation.
But the report is critical here too, right? Game theory assumes pure self-interest.
Big time. It often misses things like genuine altruism, irrational fear, cultural pressures, deep ethical beliefs that override simple self-interest calculations. So AI needs to be really careful not to fall into that trap. It needs qualitative, human data, not just abstract models, to avoid major moral blind spots.
And finally, logic and ethics. The report says they need each other.
A symbiotic relationship. An ethical change that isn't logically consistent, probably not truly ethical. A logical plan with unethical goals, not truly logical either. Ethics gives logic purpose, logic gives ethics structure. AI needs to grasp both to make sense of human moral reasoning.
Okay, so moral rules aren't set in stone, they change. The report mentions things like acceptance of unmarried couples, LGBTQ+ rights, driven by individualizing arguments.
Exactly. Societies evolve. As communities got bigger, we needed clearer ways to manage behavior. Morality became a tool for social control, for group solidarity, and those 7 universal rules we talked about. The theory is they promote the kinds of cooperation needed for groups to survive and thrive. Kin selection caring for family is a prime example.
So AI could analyze morality, like studying how societies upgrade their social operating systems over time. What about rules that become outdated?
Well, think about practices like slavery or genocide. Once accepted or tolerated in some places, now condemned. This is where moral relativism really struggles. Because how do you explain that progress if all morals are just relative?
Good point. And the flip side. New norms emerge. Women voting, civil rights. The report mentions a 3-stage cycle.
Yeah, it's fascinating. First, norm entrepreneurs, individuals or groups championing a new idea. Think suffragettes, for example.
Okay.
If it catches on, you get a norm cascade, widespread adoption. Then finally, internalization, where it becomes just normal, taken for granted.
So moral progress isn't just something that happens. People actively fight for it, arguing for fairness, justice.
Absolutely. It's often a struggle against the status quo. And AI could potentially analyze those arguments, figure out what makes them persuasive, maybe even predict their success.
We've talked about rules evolving, but why do people break the rules we do have? The report lists a whole bunch of factors.
It does. Personality traits play a role. Impulsivity, maybe low conscientiousness, sensation-seeking. Early environment matters. Inconsistent discipline, for example. Peer pressure is huge. The desire to fit in. Cultural factors. Is it a very individualistic society or more collectivist? Perceptions of authority. Is it seen as legitimate or unjust?
And psychological factors, too, like mental health or just poor coping skills.
Right. And sometimes people consciously break rules they see as unfair or too rigid, or they get a sense of entitlement, think the rules don't apply to them. And the human mind is brilliant at rationalizing small steps. It's just a small thing. Everyone does it. That's the slippery slope.
So AI needs to look beyond the act itself, into the psychology, the self-deception, the group dynamics that allow rule breaking.
Exactly. And aggression is a big one here. Bender's work shows we learn aggression pays off by watching others like the Bobo doll or getting rewarded for it. Then there's moral disengagement, the mental tricks we use to justify hurting others, to switch off our empathy.
And media doesn't help, often hyping up aggression.
Definitely. So for you listening, it's about being aware of all these subtle influences. For AI, it's about spotting patterns in media, in peer groups, in leadership that might encourage harmful behavior.
Okay, we've dug into the science of morality, but the study title is AI Explains the Science of the Science. What does that meta level mean?
It means AI isn't just applying moral theories, it's analyzing how we study morality itself. It can look across all these disciplines, psychology, sociology, neuroscience, process vastly more data than we can, and find connections we'd miss.
So pattern recognition is key, finding those universals across cultures or common developmental patterns.
Yes, and bias detection. This is huge. AI can potentially identify discriminatory patterns in our own decision-making or biases in the data we feed it much faster and maybe more objectively than humans can. It's like a check on our own blind spots.
And it can run simulations, predict how different moral choices might play out in society.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Model the impact of different ethical frameworks of policy interventions. And the big one, interdisciplinary synthesis. Pulling together insights from all these different fields to build a single, richer, more holistic model of morality than any one discipline could achieve alone.
But we need to understand how AI reaches its conclusions, right? That's explainable AI, XAI.
Absolutely critical. If AI makes a moral judgment or prediction, We need it to tell us why. No black boxes when it comes to ethics. This could even lead to personalized moral guidance. Imagine AI helping you understand your own moral development, your biases, areas where you could grow. AI's unique power here is analyzing the system of morality itself, how we build it, how it changes, giving us that meta view.
Okay, let's talk practical application. The report gets really specific about raising a morally good child. That feels very tangible.
It does. It emphasizes all the influences. Family, school, culture, media, friends, even genetics. Families are obviously foundational, teaching fairness, using consequences, modeling behavior, helping kids learn that balance between their needs and others.
And schools have a big role. The report mentions the primed model.
Right. Making moral growth a priority, building relationships, fostering internal motivation for values, modeling good character, empowering students, and having a developmental view, accepting that kids will struggle and learn.
So how could AI help with that?
Several ways. Personalized learning, tailoring moral education to a child's stage. Environmental optimization, maybe identifying positive role models or beneficial activities. Bias mitigation, helping parents and teachers see their own biases. And maybe early intervention, spotting potential challenges early on.
So AI could help make character development more intentional, more systematic.
That's the potential, yes. Using data to support positive moral growth. Moving up to the societal level, effective governance and rule following are crucial. Ethical leadership sets the tone. Integrity, transparency.
Could AI help assess that? Analyze political speech or track records against ethical standards?
It could. But the report urges extreme caution here. The potential for misuse, manipulation, or amplifying bias is enormous. It needs very careful implementation. Rules, as we said, are society's framework. Laws, health guidelines, traditions. We follow them because they create order, allow cooperation.
But we break them too. For all those reasons we discussed: personality, upbringing, peers, culture, injustice, entitlement, the slippery slope.
Right. So AI could potentially help optimize rules, analyze which ones work, which are outdated or unfair, predict rule breaking to design better interventions, even help craft new rules based on principles like fairness or sustainability.
And the report extends this moral lens beyond humans to the planet, to a balanced universe. It specifically mentions food waste.
Yes, food waste is framed as a major moral and environmental issue. Greenhouse gases, land use. Recycling food waste becomes an ethical act, and AI could contribute significantly here. Behavioral nudging, using insights to encourage sustainable habits. Resource optimization, making food production and waste systems more efficient. Ethical supply chains, tracking environmental and labor standards. And public awareness, using data to educate people about the impact of their choices.
So AI helps make abstract environmental ethics concrete. Quantifying the impact of something like food waste makes the moral choice clearer.
Exactly. It translates ethics into measurable action.
But all this power, analyzing, predicting, potentially shaping human morality, it comes with huge ethical questions itself. Who benefits? Who might get hurt?
Absolutely. Individually, personalized guidance could be great, or it could be manipulative, erode our autonomy. For communities, AI might build bridges, or biased AI could deepen divisions.
And globally, cooperation booster or nationalism amplifier.
Both are possible. The report flags key ethical worries. Bias and discrimination are top of the list, AI learning prejudice from its data.
Manipulation and emotional harm, especially with AI companions becoming more common.
Privacy and data protection. This stuff requires incredibly sensitive personal data. How is it protected?
Accountability. If an AI causes harm, who's responsible? The need for human oversight is stressed again and again.
And transparency. We have to know how these moral AIs are working.
And critically, how are the benefits shared? The report warns that AI could easily widen the gap between rich and poor if we're not careful.
Yes. AI models shouldn't make utilitarian trade-offs that sacrifice vulnerable groups. Who profits from this tech? Who bears the risks? We need fair distribution.
Plus, the wider impacts jobs displaced by automation, the environmental cost of running these massive AI systems.
It means the science of the science has to look at the power structures behind AI itself. Is it being developed and deployed in ways that promote justice and human rights for everyone?
So, given all these risks, how do we move forward responsibly? What are the strategies?
The report lays out several. Ethical AI by design, bake ethics in from the start, don't tack it on later. Multi-stakeholder governance involve everyone, not just tech companies. Robust regulatory frameworks, clear rules of the road, internationally and nationally.
Public education is key too, right? So everyone can understand and participate in the discussion.
Crucial. Plus, proactive ethical impact assessments before deploying systems, and continuous monitoring and auditing afterwards to make sure they stay aligned with our values.
And even rethinking AI's own agency, discussing its responsibilities.
It's a deep question, but engaging with it helps guide development towards beneficial outcomes, even if AI isn't moral in the human sense.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. This deep dive really shows morality isn't some simple code. It's this complex, living system, biology, psychology, society, philosophy, all woven together, always changing.
And AI gives us this incredibly powerful new microscope to examine that system, to see the hidden patterns, the cognitive shortcuts, the social forces, the historical currents shaping our sense of right and wrong. It helps us understand why the rules are what they are and how they work.
And here's the really mind-bending part for you listening. If AI can help us see ourselves more clearly, detect our own biases, simulate better paths forward, it could literally help humanity learn to be more ethical, guide our collective moral growth.
That potential is staggering, but it's inseparable from the ethics of AI itself. Fairness, transparency, human control, these aren't optional extras. And who benefits from AI's insights? That outcome isn't automatic. It depends entirely on the choices we make now about how we build and use this technology.
So maybe here's the final thought to take away and chew on. If AI can illuminate the science of the science behind human morality, giving us this unprecedented map of our own ethical workings, how might that deeper understanding change your own moral compass day to day? And what part do we all play in making sure this incredibly powerful tool actually helps build a future that's more just, more harmonious, and more sustainable for absolutely everyone? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.
This is DigitView.